Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Spurs Talk Show. It's game day! We're on our way up to, I say we, it's me, no Bugsy, nobody else, no Henry, no Johnny. It's just me on my way up to the Tottenham dead rubberist of dead rubberiest games today. Doesn't matter, both teams are likely to make wholesale changes because of their bigger fish to fry, and so I wasn't really going to make the effort. I thought I've had enough of the journey to Tottenham, but then I thought, how can I not go there and applaud the boys back onto the pitch after what they did on Thursday? The noise around the camp seems to be buzzing. I saw some Bissouma magic, Yves Bissouma, Boss Bissouma. I didn't see it until just now this morning, his post-match interview with the Tottenham guy. It was just remarkable. It was so cool to see him. The first thing he said was, this is for the Tottenham fans, you know, we shouldn't be where we are, this is for them. And after that he went on to like talk about, you know, the dream in which he finds himself living in, doesn't want to wake up from it, but the reality is that we've got a final to go to. The interviewer correctly kind of captioned it as poetry, and it was just lovely to see from a player, to be entirely honest, who, you know, I'd kind of written off. I think a lot of people had, assuming that he wasn't really going to be a part of the plans. You know, Ange has called out a few players this year publicly, and he was one of them. But then Ange said in the pre-match presser, you know, he had a conversation with Bissouma and said, you know, look mate, at the end of the day, I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you probably our most important, crucial time. So you have to be ready, stay ready, and, you know, and do the business for us, do the business. And to be entirely honest, and to be entirely fair and reasonable, he did. He did it on Thursday, he did it in the first leg and the second leg, you know, and he was really impressive. And to see how much it meant to him, and to see the gratitude, and also the prioritization in his words around who gets the first big up. It's an unusual thing to see, and it's when you do see it, it hits home, and it makes you kind of go, love it, man, love that it's not you versus us, it's us together. One Tottenham is what he said, one Tottenham family. And I think that that's just worth mentioning. You know, it's worth mentioning that Ange said that he had that conversation. I assume it's true. No reason to believe it isn't. And look, we are going to need him for the final, because I think that him playing in that, I mean, I don't know whether you want to call it the double pivot with Bentancur. At times, I think that Bentancur plays the deeper role, but certainly more often than not, I think the responsibility of the defensive work when those two are playing in the midfield lands on Bissouma, and it frees Bentancur to have that DNA, instinctual nature to get up to the 8 and do the box-to-box stuff. And Bentancur, I think, is a better player with Bissouma next to him than of late when I've seen him playing with Lucas Berghvall, who, don't get me wrong, Lucas Berghvall's been brilliant, but I think that Bentancur has done okay in the 6. But I do, as I've said 1,000 times, believe that he has a little bit of sloppiness in his concentration and the touch-tight behaviour that's required for the rest of defence. And against Manchester United, for example, you know, Bentancur usually has amazing games against Manchester United. Like, he usually does step up and turn up and strap in. But he's usually not asked to play in that deeper role. And I just wonder a little bit, you know, everyone talking about Bruno Fernandes like he's, I mean, Henry said top 3 player in the world. I don't think he is anywhere near that position. I think he's a very good player when he wants to be, but he also has the petulance in him, and a red card and a Bozogene. He doesn't always turn it on. I know when we played them recently this season, I think he scored a couple of goals. No, he didn't score goals, but he got man of the match in the game at White Hart Lane, Tottenham. Look, he's a good player, and he turned up against Tottenham, and so for sure he is a threat. But I just think if you nullify him, I don't really know if Man United have got too much else that we need to really, really like be terrified of. And so, like, you know, just to finish the point, Bentancur for me if you have to ask him to be touch tight to Bruno, I think Bruno has the smarts to be able to lose a man who doesn't necessarily always remember to do that job. When we do have the ball and we lose it in transition, we can get caught out. And so having Bissouma there, I think, is a little bit more reassuring if Bissouma can maintain his recent form in Europe. And we've got one hell of a chance, guys. Look, I don't want to be guilty. I mean, on the flip side of that Thursday night, I got on the stream with Henry and Johnny, and I was saying, why are we pivoting to this negativity kind of straight away? Why are we like, we were jubilant 12 hours ago, and now 12 hours later, sorry if I'm sweating, by the way, guys, there's no air conditioning in this car, the filter or whatever it is has blown, so with the window shut and it's 30 degrees or whatever it is, and Sean being the big lump that he is, it's difficult. Better believe that as soon as I press stop, I'll upload it later and I'll drop in the window. Where was I? Yeah, no, I just think that, look, I understand why people were like, yeah, we, just look at the league form, and remember, we haven't really played anyone that's that spectacular in the Europa League and stuff, and Manchester United will be the biggest test, and I for sure get on board all of that. But at the same time, we have beaten them 3 times this season. Ange Postecoglou has never lost to Manchester United in his time as a Tottenham manager. I'm not even sure if he's ever lost to them. I don't know if they played when they were Celtic or in Japan or Australia. I don't think they would have done so. And you look at like just how bad they are as well. They've lost one of their most important defenders, which can give, I think, Solanke a real chance to be able to create mayhem. We've got options off the bench. We've got options in the starting 11. I also think that there's an unpredictability about Tottenham right now that is a real boon to our chances. Does Amorim set his team up? Because he is someone that sets the team up to play, well, with their formation, the 3-5, or what you want to call it, the 5-3-2, the 3, or the 3-4-3, the back three predominantly with wing backs. But he is someone that does coordinate and configure his team around who he thinks he's playing against and what sort of system. And so, as I've been saying for 18 months, I've been saying it forever, unpredictability is the second best ability. But I think there's a real added value now that, as Knutson said after the game, we didn't think Tottenham would play that way. They surprised us. And that's like really, really meaningful. It's significant because Manchester United won't know. I don't know. Johnny didn't know. Henry didn't know. None of you will know for sure. I'm sure you might have your ideas on what we're going to do, but you can't be absolutely certain whether we're going to attack the game like some version of the traditional philosophy of Ange Ball, or whether we're going to sit in and keep it tight and pick them off like we have done more recently in Europe. And not knowing that, and not knowing whether it's going to be Richalison or Sonny or Matisse Tell, all 3 of whom offer different value, and all 3 of them are staking a claim for the left-hand spot. We don't know necessarily what the decision will be on the right-hand side. I think we can probably assume it will be Johnson and Solanke, and the midfield 3 will probably be Decky, Bentancur and Bissouma, but there's an outside chance that you might play Decky on the right. So, like, Amorim's got a headache because he doesn't know what system we're going to play, he doesn't know what players we're going to play, and I think it's far easier to predict Manchester United's system, style and players than Tottenham's. And so that's a little small micro advantage that we have to lean into and remember. Also, don't forget, and I actually couldn't believe it when I heard this stat, but the reality is that when Tottenham have played Vicario, Porro, Udogie, Van der Ven and Romero as a starting back 5, we've played that system 20 times this season. We've won 15 of them, so 75% win rate. We've drawn 2, and we've only lost 3. So a 15% loss rate when those 5 players play together. Again, meaningful, statistically relevant, and when you accompany that with the fact that we've beaten Manchester United 3 times, whilst I 100% acknowledge and can get on board the notion that this is our toughest test, I just don't think we need to be scared or terrified of them. We can pay them the respect that is due to any team that you're playing in the final, and don't know that they have got a pedigree of getting the job done whenever they're playing badly. They're in their terrible era, their poor era, and yet they're still ticking over in the trophies cabinet, and that is a sign of a team that has that kind of confidence and heritage. I think it's also worth pointing out that I didn't really see any of the footage of, training room, dressing room celebrations and just over the top, jubilance or whatever at getting to the final. I think from what I could see, it was more like, okay, job's not done. Whereas Tottenham celebrated, and look, rightly so, right? Getting to the final is an achievement in the Europa League, and given how terrible the season's been, I think you have to take those moments and celebrate them in their isolation, but just keep one eye on the bigger prize, which is, how do we navigate the next 2 games with an eye on the final. You're going to need to give minutes to players that haven't quite proven their fitness, that might be ready for consideration, like Sonny, like Micky Moore, maybe like Udogie, etc. But you also have to nurture those guys that are definitely fit, definitely match fit. But then also, is 2 weeks break or 10-day break too much? Should you play them for 30 minutes just to keep them fresh, keep them match sharp over the next 2 games? And if so, which game do you do it in? Because Aston Villa have got this kind of tendency to try to spoil our party through any means necessary. As I've said a few times, I am sweating like a pig. Jesus Christ, look at me. It's it's a risk, right? Matty Cash going to try and do us again. Look, they've got something to play for. It's all to play for at the top end of the table. It's fascinating. Manchester City dropping surprising points to Southampton yesterday. Newcastle against Chelsea today. The winner of that, probably, you'd imagine, guaranteed in the top spot. Manchester City, I think their next game is postponed because of their cup final. And so I think there's going to be like 2 or maybe even in some cases 3 games played from their rivals before they get to play again. And so they might end up being in a real predicament with their Champions League situation, depending on how results go and which ways they go. I would really like Nottingham Forest to get back on the horse and finish the season, if possible, with 3 wins, including Chelsea on the last day, because I as much as I can respect their transfer situations over the last 18 months, I don't see them as the threat that I do see Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea, Man City, etc. And so you'd like to see as many of that group of teams miss out on Champions League football as possible, and then obviously Tottenham win in the Europa League, and then it's a leveler of the playing field again in terms of financial capacity and what you can do in the summer. All to play for. So, it's not just about Tottenham and a dead rubber day for us. It's important to be considered around what else is happening and what those games against, the game against Aston Villa might mean for them, how important it's going to be, and what their kind of energy levels are going to be like, and their aggression and what they want to do, and all those things, because what we don't want is an injury in that game and have to play Manchester United with a weakened squad, but all to play for, guys. And as far as today goes, I'm all up for seeing young players coming out. If we can get some minutes into Micky Moore's leg, I really want to see what he can do. I don't want to be confused or misinterpreted on my take when I say that Mathys Tel has more minutes than Micky Moore has. I genuinely do believe that. I think he's getting better and better and better. I thought he was brilliant when he came on at Bodo. I think he's had 4 or 5 really I think he's probably the most informed player for Tottenham right now. Maybe that's a stretch. He's there or thereabouts though. Bentancur's been very good recently. Bissouma's obviously putting a couple of good shifts. But I think Mathys Tel is trying to prove his worth, and he's not letting himself down in his effort and his output. He's not scoring enough goals, but he's certainly involved in the build-up for both of those goals. In Bodo, we'll see the West Ham goal, the assist there. I don't think we can sniff at that, and I think that there might be some sort of biases going on here, whereby, and I get it, Tottenham fans are making the argument that he's not worth the money at the current negotiated price, and I agree. You don't do that. You go back to the table and you refigure it out if there's the desire. But if there is the desire, then I'm okay with it, because I think he's a real talent, and I think he's getting better and better as time goes on. But I also understand that other people who really care about Micky Moore, because he's one of our own, and I get that as well, 100%. He's one of my own too. I love it. I want the guy to be an absolute superstar, and they're making the argument that we don't want to cock block Micky Moore's progression, and I totally hear that. But I do think that on the basis of 2 things can be true at the same time. We do want to see Micky Moore, see how good he is, but that doesn't necessitate that Matthias Tell should therefore be reflected upon as weaker than he has been in reality. I think he has been very, very encouraging and promising and getting stronger, and I think he has a lot to offer. And you know, we don't know where Mikey Moore's best position is, so he might end up being in the 10. Johnny thinks he's a 10 shout. Maybe he's right. I don't know. Haven't seen enough really to make that decision on my own mind. I think if you're good enough to play on the left, you should also be good enough to play on the right, depending on circumstances, right? You should, because if you're someone who wants to invert on the right or get to the ball on the left, then you can, you know, interchange that. Ian Robin could do it back in the day. He's the player that was the kind of groundbreaker on the inverted wing, right winger situation, but he was often found on the left early on in his career. There's no reason why we can't make room for both in the future. I just think that we've got a player in Matthias Tell that is worth a certain fee, and I don't think it's not the price that's negotiated but at the moment, but I don't think that will be even part of the consideration anyway. Jesus, I feel like I've gone swimming. It is like a sauna in here, just like Bodo Fane. What was I going to say? In that news, by the way, there's been noise out today in the transfer stories, guys. Jason McAtee, I think it is, Manchester City player. He's linked with Tottenham. Really interesting player. I really like him. But again, you know, are we going for more youth? Do we need more youth to play in that creative role? Obviously, we don't know what James Maddison's injury looks like, but he won't be leaving the summer because of his injury now. He's definitely not going to be able to pass any medicals, so that's done. Not that there was any guarantee he was leaving anyway, but he'll miss the start of the season. So with that being the reality, and the fact that he, as Johnny likes to say, being 33 and a third, he'll take a long time to get back to full fitness and to get back to his best, then we probably do need to go and find room in the squad for a creative player. Now, do you have that in Mikey Moore? Maybe today's a really good day to be able to see all three of them play. Maybe Mikey Moore in the 10, maybe Matthias Tell on the left, maybe Odebear on the right. That'll be interesting. I'd be really fascinated to see how that looked. I think that'd be very flamboyant and very, just an experiment that I would like to be a witness to, because, you know, that could be our future, you know, a future sort of three of the top four, and, you know, hell yeah, let's check it out. Also, still don't know if the Jamie Donnelly idea is possible or otherwise, that if they get knocked out of the playoffs, then can he join us in Bilbao? Can he come back and be a part of the squad? I think technically, I don't see why he couldn't, right? So it would be interesting, but yeah, let me know if you know anything about that. Unfortunately, it looks like Jonathan Tah is going to go to Bayern Munich or Barcelona, according to Fabrizio Romano. He says those two teams are head and shoulders above everybody else. There is no interest from Tottenham, but look, the only thing I'd say that gives us a glimmer of hope in that story is that we have recently beaten Bayern Munich to Radu Dragusin, and we recently beaten Barcelona to Lucas Berghvall. So could history repeat? Maybe, probably not. I think at 29 years old, it's not quite the same pitch as it is for a younger player. And obviously, Bayern Munich need a replacement for Eric Dyer. Kim Min-jae might be leaving the club as well. So there'll be room for Jonathan Tah, and obviously he lives in Germany, so he might just want to stay there. We shall see. But that's disappointing, because he was my kind of number one value for money transfer that we could have got in the summer, and still made him the club's highest earner. We'll see where we go with that one. And then in other news, it looks like it's not been confirmed, but the here we go has been done, that Zubamendi's going to Arsenal, and that apparently Gyökeres, that's almost done as well, that Arsenal are not hanging around. They've learned the errors of their ways or whatever, and they're already getting the deals done for the two players that they need, one to replace Partey and one to fill the gap that they never filled for the last 18 months, which has probably cost them, you know, trophies and silverware. So they're making early moves. Unfortunately, Tottenham really can't do that at the moment. The season's not done for us. Even then, we don't know what the move is going to be with Ange. We don't know what the move will be. Paratici looks done, doesn't it? It's not been confirmed, but it looks done. I tried to bring that to you guys as first, you know, one of the first that was out there saying it, and I do believe that that's going to happen. You know, I don't put my neck on the line too much with too many it's done guys, but Dragusin, Porro, and Fabio Paratici are three of the ones where I was willing to do it. Guys, you know what, just to be shits and giggles worth here, I think I'm willing to put my neck on the line and say Tottenham are coming home with the cup as well. But yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting summer. Early moves, big names, making the here we goes happen before the season's even done for Tottenham. I guess that's part of the issue of being a successful football club, right? That, you know, you're playing until the end of the season, so you can't really make those big decisions until you know exactly where you stand. And with Tottenham, everything's on the line. As with Manchester United, for what it's worth, look like they're getting the Cunha deal done, although that's not quite as advanced. So they're also trying to make early moves. Again, a lot of that will come down to how much money they have, how much do they have to offer with regards to the Champions League or otherwise, and the trophy. Couldn't be bigger, because we would like to see, I mean, a lot of people would like to see Cunha come to Tottenham. I don't think he will, but we shall see, guys, we shall see. In terms of other transfer news, views, and clues, there really isn't too much to get your teeth stuck into on this one. I just wanted to sort of drop this now. I'll see you at the game if I see you in a little while, and I will say, I also changed the Tottenham marches today. Interesting. They've made some pivots and changes to the programme because of, I guess, the kind of feedback that they were receiving. Look, for me, I think they're in a kind of a very difficult spot with that. I think there's always going to be people that are unhappy, right? If they went ahead with the planned walkout, even going ahead with the march, right, today, some people, a not insignificant slice of the fan base, are going to sit there and say, you know, timing is everything, and read the room. It's like not the time to kind of bring back negative vibes about our ownership or our you know, desire for change or whatever that looks like. I personally think it's just a rebranded leave you out message, but I know that a lot of people that have joined that are not necessarily feeling that way. They just want to see change around strategy, change around ambition, etc. Like I say, I've always supported it, always have done, always will do. I think that protesting is relevant and necessary to democracy. I just don't personally think it will have the intended impact or outcomes that the hardest core people want. But in terms of, like, should the thing have gone ahead today, I think that they were sort of damned if they did, damned if they didn't. If they called it off altogether, you'd get the hardcore people that would say, you know, you're flip-flops and you're fair weather protesters or whatever. And if they went ahead with it, you'd have the people saying, why are you trying to rain on our parade? You know, it's a good time to be a Tottenham fan right now, at least in the moment. Your protest can wait. So, you know, changing it, what they have done, they've removed half of it, and they're still doing the protest. I think it starts at 1 o'clock or something. I think that they probably picked the better of all outcomes in terms of not trying to offend as many people. They're probably offending the fewest people, you know, by doing it the way they're doing it, and that's probably smart. But yeah, like I say, it's caught between a rock and a hard place, for sure. And I feel for the organisers in that. You know, it's not an easy decision of what's the best for the movement. You know, I don't know what to say about it really. It's like I say, I'll always support you guys doing it. It's not really how I feel, but I don't have to agree entirely with an output to respect the effort and the value of the input, if that makes sense. I'll tell you what else makes sense, guys, is me leaving so I can open the window, because I am absolutely dripping. Anyway, like, subscribe and comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's game. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye.